From culture preservation to personal stories, food tradition to feminism, fashion to faith. And it's my honor now to introduce our distinguished panelists. First, we have Mrs. Lily Yew, Lim Chui Yan. Here she is in this lovely vintage kebaya. I think she's sold by herself. Lily is a proud descendant of Penang Strait Chinese families. We roost in Penang dating back to the 1800s. Both her paternal and maternal great-grandparents, Mr. and Mrs. Lim Boon Hua and Mr. and Mrs. Yew Po Chuan, were part of a Penang early Chinese Peranakan community. She's herself married to a Penang Baba. Lily has vivid memories of her late mother-in-law donning the Desa and Moi. Just in case you don't know what is Desa, it's actually our brass. Desa is in Hokkien, yeah? Short, yeah, short also. And Moi is the sarong, Moi. And Sango is an everyday everyday reflection of this living tradition. She's a passionate entrepreneur dealing in art, kebaya, and Nyonya reproduction and vintage jewelry. Having lived in both Penang and Kuala Lumpur, Lily offers a unique view on the similarities and nuances among the Straits Chinese of Penang, Malacca, and Singapore. She's an active member of several Peranakan associations across Malaysia and Singapore. Next, we have Mrs. Lily Yew, Miss Lily Yew, forever young, is an 8th generation Peranakan on her maternal side, with a Malaccan Nyonya mother and a Hainanese Chinese father. She has balanced both cultural legacy gracefully, you can see from the way she dressed. A mathematics and science graduate, Celia has spent nearly 4 decades in education across Malaysia and Australia. She currently serves as Senior International Business Development Advisor at Melbourne Polytechnic, also holding the role of Deputy President at the Peranakan Baba Nyonya Association of Kuala Lumpur and Selangor. Her global experience and grounded cultural passion make her a strong voice in today's Peranakan discourse. Next, we have the ever young Melissa Chan. Melissa Chan is the 5th generation descendant of the Malacca Chan family, raised in Kuala Lumpur. While she doesn't speak Baba Patios or Tumbuk Sama Belajan, as she said, she blanks the Belajan. Yeah. But is still learning how to ikat sarung. Her heartfelt question once was, do I really qualify as a Nyonya? Yeah. Her journey of self-discovery through the Baba Nyonya Museum, if most of them have gone to Malacca, it's in Malacca, yeah, it's in one of the row houses, yeah. Family traditions and heritage work has helped her claim her identity as a proof of her 21st century Nyonya. Welcome to the 21st century. Today she leads the Bandahari, a creative heritage hub in Malacca that also support the wider Peranakan community. Last but not the least, we have a fine gentleman there. Dr. Lily Yew is a senior lecturer at University Technology Mahara and a leading scholar of Peranakan culture in Southeast Asia. He holds a PhD in cinema studies from La Trobe University, Australia, where his work on magical realism explore diasporic and hybrid identities, such as the Chinese Peranakan. With over 20 years of academic experience across Malaysia, Australia, and Canada, Dr. Yew has published widely, including the Malacca Chatty Kitchen. I think he brought the publication, and also wrote several articles in the Peranakan magazines. He led research projects with UNESCO and the National Heritage Board Singapore and UITM, and is a founding member of the Peranakan Association of Australia. His work blends scholarly rigor with personal passion, inviting us to reflect on what it truly means to be a Peranakan in a modern world. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are our distinguished panelists, and I'm sure they have a lot to share with us today. So, without further ado, being Nyonya is both a personal identity and a collective heritage. It's shaped by family, fashion, food, and faith but also by migration, change, and rediscovery. Today, we are here not to talk about preserving tradition, but also how Peranakan identity evolves across generations, geographies, and genders. So, without further ado, Lily, as a person who grew up immersed in Penang Straits Chinese culture and who has also lived in Kuala Lumpur, you have a rare comparative view. Could you share with us some key differences and continuities you have observed in Peranakan practices between the North and South, namely Penang, Malacca, and Singapore? Please welcome Lily Yew.
We shall start with history. Who are the Nyonyas? Nyonyas are actually female descendants of early Chinese settlers. They are early Chinese settlers who later became wealthy enough to create a local hybrid culture with some Thai, Indonesia, and even Burmese influences. It's actually the lifestyle of the rich and famous. We are all descendants of them. Many Penangites. I was born and raised in Penang, so I'll share more of Penang culture. Became very Anglophile. We have the British to thank them. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about growing up as a Nyonya. Okay? We are Anglo Chinese, so children are taught from young to address elders according to the proper Chinese hierarchy system. It includes social behavior, etiquette, protocol at all times, paying respect during ancestral worship, appropriate behavior while visiting and receiving elders. There are certain things that you are taught to do from young. Your mother would say, you have to call this, you have to, how to greet. And then, and also during celebrations like Chinese New Year, what to do. Or during bereavement, at somebody's funeral, somebody's wake, they are all followed. And even at meal times, before you can sit and eat, you know what you have to do. That's what it's been straight back what to do. While many skills are actually taught, I also learned by being observant. How little fingers, you are taught to tail bean sprout. Your bean sprouts, you have to tail them. That's how you were taught as a little Nyonya. Taught how to peel onions, how to peel garlic, and graduated to pounding, slicing. And I was actually my family's representative. And I'm always sent to my grandparents' kitchen before any ancestral worship. That's where you learn. As a little girl, grandma will tell you, or your aunties will tell you how to do a lot of things. One of them was just, you know what a stone mill is? Batu bo, you call it, stone mill is? Yeah, and as a little child, during certain festivals, you need rice flour. So the soaked rice, so you are told to spoon soaked rice into the hole of the batu bo and the top, and then some elder will be moving the stone on top, in a motion, the circular motion, to get your rice made into flour, that kind of thing. There was also a certain way to pound your sambal, your rupa, and then mastering the batu giving. You know how to do that? Yeah, you're taught from young. Well, there were maids, and sometimes in those days, even Hainanese chef, we call them Chompo. My mother actually told me that to be the mistress of any household, you have to know enough to give instructions, so you won't be bullied. Your maids don't tell you, oh, this is this. No. You're the mistress of the house, you don't have to do it, but you know how to give instructions. I learned to cook through observations. And also, you know how Nyonya cooking is? It's all agak-agak, right? So you just have to develop, and learn all those things, observation. And eventually I developed a style and a palette for our unique cuisine when I had a home of my own. I married a Baba. I learned needlework actually in primary school. Oh, we had the French nuns and all those things in the convent. But I was taught by my mother to stitch your batik into a tubular sarong. You know, batik, we use Indonesian batiks most of the time. It comes in a flat sheet, but then you have to sew it into a tubular shape to wear it as sarong. So that was like tiny stitches using top sewing with white thread. So it kept on. I'd still do it, but not with white thread. Then I later learned how to knit, to crochet, to embroider, and then make tatting lace. Do you know what tatting lace is? So all Nonyas, we learn all these things. Nyonya moral values are actually inculcated from young. Virtues like filial piety. Yes, we are very Chinese, huh? Observing traditional rites and rituals, and respecting prohibitions. You know, pandang larang, yes, taboos. Yes, we are taught those things from young, so you don't commit some sin. Yeah. Nyonya brings honor to her maiden family by being a good daughter-in-law. You know, your mom is the proudest when she gets feedback from your in-laws that you have been a good daughter-in-law. You bring up, yeah, you have to bring up your daughter to be so respectful that you will be the proudest mom. A young Nyonya learns about pantang larang once she reaches puberty. When you're young, you're running all over the place. But once you reach puberty, you can't do this, you cannot do that. You have to sit properly, you have to eat properly, all these things. And as a young bride, as a young bride, go into your in-laws, make sure you know how to behave. And when you get pregnant, there's so sometimes, you cannot do this, cannot that, you cannot go there. When there's something, unclean, when I'm cooking something special, no, when you're pregnant, you cannot go. And also, when she becomes a mother, immediately post-childbirth. Okay, a young Nyonya learns, a Nonya's pride in raising her children is, if her brood is ever branded kurang ajar, yang kasih, my goodness, it's a mother's ultimate shame. You don't know how to bring up your daughter or children or sons. Growing up, I wore what was in trend. Let it be miniskirt, whatever that was in fashion. It's only later that I chose to wear the sarong kebaya for special occasions. You know what I mean? We didn't grow up wearing sarong kebayas. We wore whatever. If you go now and see me at home, I'll be t-shirt and shorts, huh? Sorry, old grandmother, yes. It's only that we dress up. When you are out, you make sure. And I was taught how to tie my sarong traditionally. I still do. I don't send my sarongs with I don't sew it that way, and also how to pin my crochet. Okay, well, I love sewing, and I learned to customize my own kebaya. What you see, I make. And then I actually was running a kebaya and sarong business, and hopefully one day I will leave a legacy of conserving my cultural heritage. My grandmother enjoys keroncong music. You know what keroncong music is? My grandmother did that. But my mother was more into Western music. She used to lull us to sleep, with music like It's a Wonderful World, I can't remember now, those Western tunes. I grew up, Cliff Richard, Elvis Presley. Yes, Beatles, that's my time. Actually, my grandmothers will actually turn in their graves to see me joget. It wasn't done. Okay? We didn't joget. It was my father who actually taught me to do the tango. See how old I am? It was my father who actually taught me to do the tango. Of course, I learned how to waltz, I know how to do rumba, foxtrot, okay? Later in my teens, I was doing jive, rock and roll. Remember those days? So if you tell me to do joget now, it didn't happen then. Being Nyonya, being a Penang Nyonya means knowing how to communicate in Hokkien. The Hokkien dialects like the words like mua. We use te sa, teng sa, kwa teng te. You know what that means? Baju panjang, baju pendek, and Nyonya kebaya. And we also call kwa kiang ti chang. Right? No Nyonya chang, huh? Penang is kwa kiang ti chang. But we all can speak colloquial Malay. It was the how we communicated with Ahmad the driver, okay, Kebun the gardener. Do you remember we called those days every driver, Malay driver is called Ahmad. Every gardener is called Kebun. Yes. And all those who can't otherwise understand it. So it was colloquial Malay. A Nyonya is expected to be prim and proper at all times. Above all, a Nyonya is expected to have finesse in her actions and grace in her behavior. It's definitely not by just putting Nyonya, Nya as a prefix before her name. So it doesn't make you a Nyonya just because you put a prefix Nya, okay? So it's a culture. So I've given you what Penang Nyonya, how it was like. Things have changed a lot, but I think Janet wants me to tell you the differences. Okay, let me go to that. Differences between the northern Penang Nonyas and the southerners. Actually, I did this in a colloquium in Penang many years ago. But just to give you, I will take half an hour to tell you, but just to cut it short. History, just to give you a bit of history. Penang was founded in 1786, but early Chinese were already in Kedah and upper regions of Perak. Did you know that? Now we were already there in Penang before Francis Light came. Some migrants actually arrived through Siam. You know, a lot of Thai people are Teochews. Do you know? Yes, we came down from the Yunnan. The Chinese came down from the Yunnan. That was long ago. Okay, we came down from the Yunnan, And some migrants actually arrived also through Burma. Some came direct from China as indented coolies, that kind of thing also. And people who came from Medan, Indonesia. A lot of the Chinese actually came to Indonesia, different parts of Indonesia, before they even arrived in Malaysia. A very good example. Peter, do you mind? Peter, do you mind? Oh no, he wasn't listening. Peter's ancestors came from Asahan through Indonesia to Penang. So if you really know history, don't listen to a lot of things that I've been told you. I'm telling you this. Okay, and he came from Asahan in Medan, near Medan, to Penang. And my actually ancestor came from China, but he stopped at Dili before going to Penang. Dili is Medan. And the other thing, the Chinese presence in Malacca was very much earlier, with many who arrived across the straits from Palembang and other parts of Indonesia, where they had first settled. The Chinese were in Indonesia long first, but they came to Malaysia, a lot of Malaya then. Okay, some later migrated to Singapore. When the British decided to move the administrative headquarters and port to Singapore, but Singapore was only founded in 1819. So if you think of Malacca, where the Chinese came from, you're talking of the many voyages of Teong or the traders, but lots of Chinese have been to Indonesia. 1400s, they were already there. They stayed in Indonesia and later moved to Peninsula Malaya there. So a lot of the patois in the south, you can see a lot of Indonesian words. Okay? But in Penang, of course, it's different. We speak Hokkien. So that's where I'm coming from. Hokkien is spoken by Penangites. We have retained our mother tongue, whereas the Southerners speak Baba Patois with differences, like how we address elders. Can you hear me at the back? Yes? Okay. So you have the way we even address our elders, Like I will call my mother Mama, The Southerners will say Nyonya, right? Yes? And then my grandmother is Ama in Hokkien, but the Southerners will call Mama. So that's a confusion. If I say Mama, if I come from Penang, I'm talking about my mother, but if you come from the South, you're talking about grandmother, one generation. So, and then of course we have Tuachi, when you address me as Tuachi, I'm the elder sister, but in the South it's Tachi. So there are lots of words, like I said earlier, is like Wakiam Tijang, is Nyonya Chang. Cuisine, I'm sorry. We have things like Jucha, the Southerners won't know, but then we have Jucha, we have Hongbak, we have Puro-ikan. But in the Southern, you have Tongte, which we don't do. We have Itesio, right? And you have Seba, right? Which we don't do. And then the other okay, I think I've covered the three differences. If you give me, I'll speak another half an hour. Sorry. So I think I've answered your question. And thank you. Sorry, I got carried on.
Thank you.